Malik Beasley just dropped his biggest hint yet on which team he'll sign with, and we'll also take a look at the Pistons' upcoming game with the Utah Jazz in just a moment. Welcome back to the Pistons Jack YouTube channel. Today's episode, we are going to cover the latest on Malik Beasley and his situation with the Pistons. Malik has been pretty active on Snapchat lately, and I certainly don't have Snapchat, but there's been plenty of stuff posted across Twitter and other social media pages. So I wanted to play the video that he posted on his Snapchat first, and then I'll give my thoughts and opinions on that.
I do go back to the NBA. It's going to be with the Pistons. Like I said, I'm not signing. I didn't sign anything yet, but I have my highest ties there, and I have my best season there last year, and hopefully I can fit back in with the team. So that's the update for me. Like, I hope I didn't confuse you guys. Love you guys.
So the day before that footage, Malik also said he was going to be in Detroit this upcoming week, kind of cryptically, potentially getting people to think he was going to be there to be with the Pistons. But as you can see in that footage, Malik hasn't had any really ongoings with the team. His agents have obviously, they're allowed to talk to the Pistons, but the biggest piece here from that footage is him saying that if he is able to come back to the NBA, it's going to be with the Pistons. He kind of cited how he had his best season there. He has his strongest ties and relationships there with the team. So this is kind of interesting because we have seen before the season started, there was some places reporting that the Cavs, I think the Knicks at one point, and I think the Timberwolves were the other three teams interested in Malik. But upon just having strong ties there and also having the best season of his career there, the Pistons are also the team that can offer the Malik the most money. I believe that's still the case if you were to sign for this season and not next off season. As we've said multiple times, the Pistons can offer him like $7 to $8 million per season, whereas those other teams that have shown interest can only offer him the veteran minimum, which I think is somewhere between $2 to $3 million. So the Pistons have always seemed like the most likely destination. They've kept a roster spot open, and while the team hasn't said they're keeping it open for Malik, it kind of feels like that's why they are holding it open, so that when he is cleared by the NBA and the federal government or the FBI, that they can just sign him straight away. They don't have to waive anyone. It doesn't have to be a big process. But I wanted to just go over, on top of that news, kind of why I think, and I spoke about it on yesterday's video, but why I think Malik truly is the missing piece to this team for this season. So last year, in case you forgot, he was the runner-up for Sixth Man of the Year. He averaged 16 points in only 28 minutes, and after Jaden Ivey went down, was the team's second best scorer behind Cade. He put up, these are the crazy stats, he put up and made just under 4 threes per game. And he played all 82 games. And he made them at 42%, which is just ridiculous. I think he had the second most made threes for the season behind only Ant. And we all know if Malik played that final game of the season after the Timberwolves, he probably does have the most threes made for the season. But obviously, Ant Edwards knew how many he needed to make, and he was gunning for it in the last game. He ends up making the most threes. But regardless, Malik did that off the bench. Anthony Edwards is playing 35 to 40 minutes a night. So just an insane, crazy shooting season that was like something only like players like Steph Curry have done on that volume, to have that many makes at that percentage. Like, it was just incredible. And even if he's like, I don't think it'd be fair to expect Malik to replicate that again. But even if he gets to like you get 75% of what he was last season in a bit of a different role on a better team this year. I think it would be the final missing puzzle piece, because you look at where the Pistons are so far this season. They currently are 27th in three-point attempts, 26th in three-point makes. So they're not attempting them, and then when they do, they make them at a decent clip. They're 18th in the league for three-point percentage, but they're just not able to get them up, and partly that is because they just don't have guys that are comfortable letting it go. Like, there's been a lot of times where the ball will end up in Asar Thompson's hands at the end of the shot clock, Isaiah Stewart, there's just Ron Holland, all guys who but more so Ron and Stu, who you don't mind shooting threes, but they're guys that if they've missed one or two before, they're not just going to let it fly. Like they're not as confident yet from behind the arc. So adding Malik alongside Duncan, I think will give you two guys who would just, they're going to shoot anytime they can. And I think that really opens things up. And the Pistons still have the 17th ranked offense. So, and that's with some really low three-point shooting numbers. So if they could get Malik back and he comes in and gives you 20 minutes a night, I'm not sure he's going to get the same 28 minutes he got last year on this year's roster, but maybe he would, especially with Ivy out, and maybe there'll be other injuries to someone like Karis LeVert or other people in the backcourt. Maybe he does get closer to 25 minutes per game, but I think if you get 2/3 of what he was last season this year and add that to this roster, I think this would just push the Pistons right up into that top three of the East without a question. Like they're already, I think, not too far behind Cleveland, who I know have started a bit slower. Cleveland and teams like the Bucks and that kind of thing, and the Knicks who have started slow. But I think if you get Beasley, add that final missing piece of a shooter just for this season, I think that would be incredible. So we'll see what happens. It seems like as long as these investigations are ongoing, Malik won't be on a team. But hopefully they can get cleared because it seems like Detroit will be the place he goes. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I wanted to lead off talking about that. And then for the second half of the show, and of course, let me know your thoughts. Do you want Malik back on the team? If he's cleared of everything, I would love him back on the team. I think he was crucial last year on and off the court. But I know some fans have differing opinions, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. To close the show, I wanted to preview tomorrow's game, or today's game by the time you're watching this, against the Jazz. The Pistons host the Jazz at home before going back on the road to Brooklyn later in the week. But the Utah Jazz have started the season decently. Like, this is a game the Pistons should definitely win. Last year, they lost to the Jazz at home, and that was, I think, around mid-December. It was just before the team started to figure things out and really take off. But a lot has kind of changed for the Pistons since then. But the Jazz, at this point of the season, are playing decently. They just beat Boston in Boston yesterday. They're 3-4. Some of the things they do really well is they're number one in the NBA for rebounding. So the Pistons, I think, are in the top 7. They might be 7th for rebounding, but the Jazz have some size. They have Markkanen, they have Walker Kessler, who are both playing really well. Interestingly, they're number 1 in turnovers, so they are a young team. They do have Lauri Markkanen, who's like their all-star, but the rest of the team is pretty young. They traded out a lot of their veterans last season, so they are going to turn it over a lot, and I think that should be a huge thing for the Pistons, who are number 1 in blocks and I think 7th in steals. So the Pistons should be able to turn the ball over, get out in transition, which is what the Pistons do best when they're playing at their best. So in terms of shooting, they're a better three-point shooting than the Pistons. Most teams are right now, but they're nothing too crazy. They're 20th in the league for three-point makes, and they are 13th for three-point attempts, so they'll get them up. But I think the Pistons should win this game pretty soundly. Like, I'm still at this point of the season, I'm never going to really predict like a blowout win or that kind of thing, because most teams still have vibes high. Their rosters are still healthy. No one's really looking to tank yet. So I think most games this time of the year are going to be pretty close up until the last 5 minutes. So I think Detroit should win this by like 10 to 12 points because Lauri Markkanen, who I know a lot of Pistons fans would love to see in a Pistons jersey, he's been exceptional. He's averaging 31 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and he's doing it at pretty much 50% from the field and 38% from 3. So he's right back to where he was a couple of years ago. And I think Pistons fans are going to enjoy watching him tomorrow. I think for Detroit to get him, you would have to probably give up Ron, Tobias, obviously. They'd probably want to try and get a Asar and picks, which I'm just not doing with how good this team's gelling right now. But either way, I do know a lot of NBA media have said Markkanen's kind of the missing piece for Detroit. He would, in theory, like he does fit really well for what Detroit would need at that 4 position once Tobias is, not the player he is anymore as he's getting old. But Either way, it would be fun to watch Markkanen tomorrow, and we never know what will happen in the future. Keontae George is another player to watch for them, a young guard. He's averaging 23 and 8 assists. The one player to really keep an eye on for them that could be like an X factor is Bryce Sensabaugh. He's like a kind of undersized guard or undersized forward, but can get hot and score quickly. Hasn't sort of started the season too well, but he had some big games in the preseason, and he's a guy I could just see coming in tomorrow and scoring 25 and really making, catching the Pistons off guard. So he's a player to watch off the bench for them. But like I said, I think the Pistons should handle the Jazz reasonably well. It'd be interesting to watch Jalen Duren go against Walker Kessler. He's been playing really well for the Jazz. He's now shooting threes on a very low volume, but he is shooting them. So that'll be a good matchup for JD, because JD typically handles the lesser starting centers in the NBA well. It's typically when he plays the better starting centers that we still want to see him grow. So Kessler's probably on the same level as him. Honestly, I think they were in the same draft. So that should be a fun matchup. But like I said, I think the Pistons should win this pretty comfortably, and we'll see what happens. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you want to see Lauri Markkanen in a Pistons jersey at some point this season? Has the start of this season changed your mind on the Pistons making a big trade? But we'll see. It should be a fun game tomorrow, and we'll be back to react to it all as soon as it wraps up. But until then, as always, go Pistons.